Hi there. Welcome to the kitchen. I've been saying for months I'm going to start utilizing the YouTube channel. What better way to utilize Evan's Outdoor Adventures YouTube than to bring you into the kitchen and prepare a little dish from something we've harvested out in the wild. Today, I'm going to start with my version of pheasant and noodles. Now, you can obviously use chicken, but I always say you can use pheasant any way you could use a chicken. I have taken the pheasant out of the freezer. I have thawed it, rinsed it, dried it, and put it in our stew pot. What I'm going to add to this stew pot, 3 clove garlic, because I like garlic. I've got an onion quartered. I've got bell pepper and celery. And if you know anything about Louisiana cooking, I have just entered the holy trinity of seasoning vegetables to this stew pot. One other thing I'm going to add, a bit of carrot. What I am trying to do is improve the broth that boiling down this pheasant makes. I have left everything in large pieces because I want just the broth. I'm going to run this through a strainer once we have got it boiled down, and that will give me broth. The one thing I'm leaving out of my broth that you may want to put in yours, salt. I have a very, very bad habit of over salting when I'm boiling down my meat. And therefore, whatever dish I use that broth in becomes very, very salty. So we're going to put this up on high and just put the lid on it and let it get happy. Now, to go with our pheasant and noodles, of course we'll mash potatoes later. You cannot have noodles, in my opinion, without a bed of mashed potatoes to put them on. We're done with the carrots. I'm going to put together an Amish broccoli salad to go along with this, and I apologize. I am a camera crew of 1, so that's why I'm in and out of the frame a little bit here. I do have the handy dandy remote start and stop from the selfie stick. Seems to be working fine so far, but let's put together an Amish broccoli salad. We have our recipe. The first thing it says to do is get our large bowl, and get our broccoli and our cauliflower that our sous chef has already prepared. We have cauliflower florets, and we have broccoli florets, and we throw some on the floor. And I can tell you right now, we do not have a big enough bowl. That's okay. We will figure this out. In fact, we'll figure this out right now. This soup pot can be washed and used if we need it here in a little bit. But that will be a big enough bowl to do our mixing in. We'll go back to the big mixing bowl with the finished product. In a separate bowl, we want to combine some mayo and some sour cream. And like I said, we're working in my kitchen, which is in my duplex, world headquarters of Evan's Outdoor Adventures. So things get a little crowded. Side note, I have got a whole set of block full of knives over here that I spent a lot of money on several years ago. The most used knives in my kitchen or a couple of fillet knives. This one will cost you somewhere around $3, $4 at Walmart, and it holds an edge. I mean, it is sharp, sharp, sharp. Do yourself a favor, go buy some fillet knives. Anyhow, we need our mayo and our sour cream. And that's not the first time I've ever done that and turned on the wrong burner on that stove. Using our knife to open our sour cream without cutting our fingers. I have no idea what this brand of sour cream is. It was on sale this morning at my local grocery store, Dillon's. And if you all know me at all, you know that I am a Dillon's shopper. We need a 1 cup measure, and we just happen to have one over here. And we need one of these here spatulas to do a little dipping with. Get the watery stuff off the top here. And then we're going to proceed to fill our 1 cup measure. And there may be enough in this sour cream tub to do this all again next week for Christmas. But then again, there may not be. It's looking pretty short pretty fast. Now, earlier today I was watching Kevin Belton. He is one of my favorite chefs on PBS. He is based out of New Orleans. But he was talking about dropping his cake pan on the counter to get everything leveled out. As you can see, I've got 1 cup sour cream now. So we will put that in our mixing bowl. And I apologize if there is a lot of dead air, but sometimes I got to concentrate on what I'm doing here. So there's the sour cream. We're done with that for a minute. If I can get my hands on it to close it. Now we go to the mayonnaise. And I'm just using Smart Way mayonnaise. I mean, it's the cheap stuff. Just whatever was on sale. That's what I'm using. And in case you're wondering, yes, it is December. Yes, it is fairly cold here in Kansas. But I treated myself to a pedicure this morning, so that's why I'm wearing shorts. Now, those of you that are my buddies in Flatland Fly Fishers are going to give me hell for getting my toes done instead of going fishing up at Canopolis with y'all. But yeah, we'll talk about that at a later date. We need just a tick more. And we'll call that 1 cup of mayo. I never noticed how yellow mayonnaise looked compared to sour cream until just now, I guess. But it is what it is. Paper towels, handy place to have them. Okay, we are done with our sour cream and mayo for the moment, so we will put that back in the fridge. everything's kind of halfway where they sit, right? To this, we want to add some sugar and some salt. So I just happen to have some sugar here, and we need a 1/2 cup measure. I just happen to have that here. I'm going to shake it around because it does have a few lumps in it. If I buy some saltine crackers and put in it, it would probably help. There's a 1/2 cup sugar. Put this over here out of our way. And we need a box of salt that we have right here. How much salt did it say to put? It said a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So we dig down here to the 1/2 teaspoon measure. Yep, 1/2 teaspoon. There's that. And now it says to stir it all together. So, I like a fork to stir with. Spatulas are great, but I really like a fork when I'm stirring or beating eggs or most anything along those lines. You know what? I think I'm going to want a little bowl. Put this spatula in. Get it over here out of my way. I don't know how this is coming across. Of course, like I said, I'm a crew of one. But I want my cooking segments, gosh, I want everything, as everyone does. But I love watching, as I mentioned before, Kevin Belton, based out of New Orleans. Learned to cook. He did not go to culinary school. He learned to cook basically watching his mom and grandma in their own kitchens. He's just down home. I really think Kevin and I could be buddies, to be quite honest. The legendary Justin Wilson. Loved his humor, but also loved how he presented things. He was the one that people would ask, what wine do you serve with this dish? And he would say, it doesn't matter. Serve the wine you like. Okay, we are fixing to pour our dressing into our broccoli and cauliflower. Anyway, back to the cooks that I enjoy watching on TV. Julia Childs. We owe a lot to Julia Childs, especially those of us that like to experiment in the kitchen. She taught us to take chances, to try new things. Don't be afraid to mess something up. Just really have a lot of respect for the lady. So there are several that I'm going to say are influences on what I do. And Lee, much like Kevin Belton, I grew up watching my mother, my grandmother, my dad, aunts, uncles, neighbors. I watched some great cooks growing up. Mom always said that Dad was a chef because he never cleaned up his mess. That was between Mom and Dad. I stayed out of that. Usually I had to help clean up the mess. But I really learned a lot just watching. I was never once told that I could not be in the kitchen. I was often encouraged to be in the kitchen. I think that's incorporated pretty well. So, this recipe right here, not necessarily the salad, but the pheasant noodles. I still hear my mother remembering from her childhood. I'm not sure which aunt, but they would go over there on Sunday after church for Sunday dinner. And this particular aunt made the greatest chicken and noodles, my mother said. Now, I will tell you what part of that secret was. Farm-raised chickens. They had their own chickens on the farm, and I grew up with chickens on the farm. There is absolutely nothing better than having your own chickens at your disposal, getting those fresh farm-raised eggs, the big orange yolks. Not yellow, but orange. I loved when it was chicken butcher day, we had fried chicken. That was the best fried chicken in the world, was a freshly butchered chicken. Old Roosters make the absolute best chicken salad sandwiches. Speaking of grandmother, I would love to have one of her chicken salad sandwiches and a piece of chocolate pie for lunch sometime. Her chocolate pie, because the woman loved chocolate. But the secret to good chicken noodles, in my opinion, would be the old hens. The old hens that are done laying, can't lay eggs anymore. You butcher them, you boil them down, you make chicken noodles out of those gals. This recipe calls for a cup of shredded cheese. Now, I was reading the other day a recipe that I am going to make for Thanksgiving, and it read to shred your cheese freshly off a block if you're going to melt the cheese, which I'm going to do at Christmas time. Christmas Day, I'm going to melt the cheese in my recipe. So I will probably buy blocks of cheese and I will shred them, or get my older brother to shred them, because he kind of turns into my sous chef at holiday gatherings at Mom's. He doesn't like to be just considered a sous chef, but that's what I call him. Okay, we've got 1 cup cheese going into the mixture. Get all the goodness out of there. Come on. And sous chef Sheldon, not only did he chop broccoli and cauliflower, but he fried down our bacon bits. This is just, it is low sodium, but it's just the cheapest bacon you can buy at the grocery store. About a half pound. About a half pound of fried down bacon. And I did cut it up and make little bacon bits out of it. So we're going to stir this all together now. Oh, according to the recipe, you're supposed to save some of that cheese for garnish as you serve the salad. Well, that's where the farm boy in me's coming out. You're going to get it like it's put on the table. As my mother said, we had a choice for dinner every night of the week. Eat it and shut up, or do without and shut up anyway. So, my big soup pot here worked great for mixing all that. Let's put our recipe over there. We're done with the recipe for now. And let's see if we can't do this without making a huge mess and spilling it on the floor. I'll try to do it into the camera so y'all can see what I'm doing. I absolutely love this salad. I always have. I've always enjoyed broccoli and cauliflower about any way you can cook it. And this salad, you add cheese and bacon, it's got to be good. Now, I've made this plenty ahead before we plate anything. because I want it to sit in the fridge and get happy for a while. We've got plenty of other things to be working on while our pheasant boils down and we end up making the noodles, etc., etc. So, we're gonna start some dishes here shortly because I can't stand it. I gotta stop and clean up and then we'll go again. But there is our Amish broccoli and cauliflower salad. We're gonna pop that in the fridge. I'm gonna take a little break here and do some kitchen cleanup. I know y'all don't wanna watch that. I'll be back as soon as I can. Okay, we've regrouped a little bit here in the kitchen. We are in the process of putting together a banana bread. In this bowl, I have 2 cup flour, 2 teaspoon baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon baking soda, 1/2 cup sugar, and we're just going to mix all this together. Again, I like a fork. But I'm going to mix my dries all together, and I'm using just all-purpose flour. That's the reason for the baking powder, baking soda in this. Just incorporate everything real well. I did sift my flour. It's a habit I've got. Don't know that it has to be done. The recipe did not say it had to be done, but it's habit for me. So I've got my dries pretty well incorporated. In this bowl, I've got 2 eggs, and I'm just going to give them a little whip here, or beat, whichever way you want to look at it. And we'll just drop those right in. Now, I'm not going to throw this bowl in the sink yet, because I want it for just a second now. You sit there. I've been softening a stick of butter. And just in case it isn't soft enough, by the way, the stick of butter is a 1/2 cup. And it's fairly soft. Not icebox cold anymore anyway. It didn't say to melt it, but I'm tempted to put this baby doll in the microwave for a few seconds and let it get happy that way. I think we will. That for sure ought to help it to mix a little nicer. Do your thing. While we're doing that, we'll go ahead and put in our 1 teaspoon lemon juice. Whoops, a little over a teaspoon. That's all right. Got a cup of banana. 1 cup mashed banana plus 2 of my brown bananas, if you noticed them in the earlier segment hanging up here. I asked myself, the whole reason I decided to make banana bread with this segment was earlier this week, I was standing here making breakfast, looking at those bananas, wondering why I even buy bananas, because they always seem to go bad before I eat them. This is a 1/2 cut chopped pecan. Optional, but you can't go wrong with pecan in my opinion. Our butter's good. Now it says you can use a mixer. Good thing I've got plastic stuff, huh? But I'm gonna just keep using my fork. I own a mixer. I don't really like it, which I guess I just as well go ahead and admit some other things to y'all. Part of the reason for doing the kitchen segments. One, yes, I have always enjoyed trying my hand at things, and this seems to be a very good way that I can utilize the YouTube channel, keep it tied to Evan's Outdoor Adventures, because I do want to do recipes using whatever I have caught or hunted or somehow tied to an outdoor adventure. And the banana bread is tied to an outdoor adventure, believe it or not. I'll explain when we go to the next step. But I've been divorced twice. Both times I lost a lot of stuff. The first one, yeah, we had some nice stuff, but it was mostly her idea, so I guess I didn't really let it bother me as much. The second one, and if they're watching, I really don't care, but the second one, I had a whole lot of nice kitchen stuff before we ever got together. And I left with minimal, very, very little kitchen stuff. I salvaged some of it, but a lot of it, I don't know what happened to it. It just seemed to have disappeared. So, I'm starting over. Next time we do these segments, you probably will not see the plastic bowls like that. They will be gone or in the camping gear or something. But I'm rebuilding. I have got new dinnerware on the way. I have got new silverware on the way. Yeah, so anyway, we're putting this mixture in a greased loaf pan or bread pan, whichever way you want to call it. I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees. See if I can do this without making a mess. I'm real good at making mess. And I'm not worried about getting this done way ahead of the noodles because I want this to cool. This is part of the dessert. And our next segment, after we take another break and I regroup again and get ready, will be the tie-in to an outdoor adventure for banana bread. My older brother is watching. He knows what is coming because he was on that adventure. And he's already asking, will it be as good? I don't know. Probably not. But it was a very, very, very fond memory for both of us. So we give that, I say, about an hour. We're going to start at 55 minutes and see what happens. So, once again, I've got to clean some stuff up. Bear with me and I will be back. Okay, we're back. This one, once we get started, we're not stopping. We can't stop. Matter of fact, I work with a man that is from England. He's my age. Came over here in the 90s, early 2000s, something like that. He and his wife. His wife, I call her a chef. He says she doesn't have all the license and yada, 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 and what have you, but just from the way he talks, she has cooked at some very, very, very nice restaurants, hotels, that sort of thing. Kind of my go-to for this. So if I really mess it up, I'm taking her my notes and going to say, what did I do wrong? And she'll probably tell me 100 things I did wrong, starting with the recipe I'm using. But anyway, I'm making a custard sauce to go on that banana bread we have in the oven. A little over a year ago, late September, early October of 2022, my older brother and I were privileged to go to Africa on safari. In camp, we ate like kings. Electricity over there was very, very questionable at best most days. I never saw a propane tank anywhere around. The hot water for our chalets, or cabins, if you want to call them that, was what they call a donkey system. Wood-fired hot water tanks. Of course, we had a fire pit every night, but Stephen, who was the camp chef, and his kitchen staff were putting out meals I had not experienced since my days at Oklahoma State at Okmulgee. I was in the diesel department, but they had a world-known culinary arts department. And the students of that culinary arts department would turn out dishes for banquets or just everyday luncheon. It was an experience in itself. I almost toyed with the idea, didn't really, but sometimes wondered, should I go over and take some culinary arts classes? It was not an easy degree to get from some of the guys that I visited with that I knew were in the culinary arts department. Anyway, Stephen was turning out these dishes right down to the one that sticks in my memory, Eland Wellington with mushroom sauce. How he cooked that had to be on a wood-fired stove. I have no idea, but it was delicious. It was absolutely wonderful. It was probably better than any beef Wellington I've ever had. Anyway, one evening, and it may have been that same evening, one evening for dessert, he presented banana bread with a custard sauce. That is what I am attempting to do a version of today. And like I said, once we start, we cannot stop. So already in our medium saucepan, I have a half cup sugar, a third cup all-purpose flour, I guess this is going to prove how good my editing is, because I just panicked. In the saucepan, I've got a half cup sugar, third cup all-purpose flour, eighth of a teaspoon of salt. We are going to whisk in 2.5 cups of milk. So here's my 2.5 cup milk. Here's my whisk. So we're going to whisk this in. Says to whisk it in and then place it over medium heat. I have got the burner already at medium heat, and it says to stir it consistently till just warm. I say consistently, I've got to look at the notes a minute. Yes, stirring consistently until just hot. Over here in a smaller bowl, I've already got 3 egg yolks beat. And while we're waiting for this to come up to temp, I'll tell you how I got my eggs separated. I do not own an egg separator anymore. It goes back to some of that stuff I was talking about I had, and now it's gone. So what I did was I found a slotted serving spoon over here in the silverware drawer, and I held it over a coffee cup and busted the egg, let the whites flow through the spoon, and then dumped the yolk over here in this bowl. So I did that 3 times. I am on the hunt for an egg separator. I am really hoping I do this right. Because it is non-stop from the time we go. I just thought of something else I'm going to want over there. Those are half-inch thick cutting boards that I've got on this quote-unquote cabinet over here. That piece of furniture, as you can see, cabinet space is basically of a premium here in this kitchen. That piece of furniture my dad built in high school shop class back in the late 40s, early 50s. Graduated high school in 53, so I guess it'd be the early 50s. Anyway, when we moved Mom from Pond Creek to Enid, that was in her home, and we were not moving it, so I asked if I could bring it up here and use it as a kitchen counter. And of course she said yes. Academy had those cutting boards on sale here a year or two ago, and to protect the top of Dad's buffet, 2 cutting boards seemed to cover it just right. I know better than to set anything hot on those cutting boards, so I always try to have a towel or a pot holder or something close by. And I don't know how else to check if this is just warm. I'm saying it's just warm. So according to direction, I want a half a cup of this. Over here in my egg, but I don't want to scramble the egg. So I'm going to add just a little at a time. It says to stir it vigorously. And then pour it back over here. And stir until thick. So it's a lot like making a cream gravy. I just don't have meat frying and flour to make a roux. I guess we're using the milk and the egg to make the roux, so to speak. Like I said, this is the one that has got me nervous. If this doesn't work out, I guess we'll just have banana bread with butter on it, which our banana bread's got about a half hour. Our pheasant is probably getting really close to being ready to take out of the pot and let it cool so we can take it off the bone. And if you're familiar with pheasant, it's got those little tendons in the legs and thighs. This is why I use legs and thighs for noodles or pot pie, anything of that nature that I need to take meat off the bone. The breast is so convenient to just fry it or grill it. As I said, you can do so many things with pheasant. I just prefer not to fry or do anything that I do not have to take the meat off the bone with the leg quarters because of those tendons. They can be fried. I know a lot of people that do, but I've gotten in the habit of doing it this way. Not sure how long this is supposed to take. Feels like maybe it's thickening up a little bit. Kind of like cream gravy. Seems like it's going to take forever, and then all of a sudden, there it goes. But I don't want it to get too thick, I know that. But what we're going to do is just let it thicken. And then we are to pour it through a strainer after we add our vanilla. So it's a vanilla custard sauce. There, it's starting to look nice. That's looking like we want it. I'm sorry I can't get the camera over here to let you see. Someday I'm going to have a kitchen and we may have multiple cameras and we may have multiple people helping. I think I am where I want to be. Now, it says to put a teaspoon of vanilla in. And we're going to stir that real good. We'll get our strainer over here. Oh, it smells great. You can smell that vanilla. And I did use pure vanilla extract. I decided if I'm going to experiment and if I'm going to make a total mess, I was using the real stuff. I wasn't using any imitation stuff. Okay. Here we go. I don't totally understand why it says to strain, but it does. So I'm going to strain. Smells great. I wish we had smell-o-vision here. Now, my friend at work did say custard will get a skin on it, much like pudding. I personally have never had a problem stirring the skin back in on pudding or on gravy. So I'm not sure what the consequences are going to be if I do that, but I can tell you we are going to have some version of banana bread with custard sauce for dessert. A lot of custard sauce right there, but there it is. There is our custard sauce. We're going to just set this over here, let that cool for a little bit. I'm sorry that I keep stepping so close to the camera that I'm cutting my own head off. I'm glad that you've stuck with me this long. We're going to take another break, clean some more stuff up, probably go ahead off camera and pull the pheasant out of the broth, strain the broth, and debone the pheasant. And then I'll come back and show you how I put my noodles together. And we'll probably have potatoes ready to go in the pot and boil them to mash here in a little bit also. And I for sure will show you how I mash potatoes. So hang with me, we'll be back in a little. Okay, we're down to the home stretch here, I believe. I have deboned our pheasant. That was 6 pheasant leg quarters. Here is our broth that came off of our pheasant. I'm putting the entire batch right back in our same soup pot. Grandmother Overton made little thin egg noodles when she would make chicken noodles. And how she got them exactly the same every time using a paring knife, I have no idea. I am told Grandma Evans made the fat, chewy kind of noodles, which are really good too. I never remember Grandma Evans ever cooking. Ate a lot of Grandmother Overton's cooking. Anyway, Sheldon uses Reamer's egg noodles from the frozen section at the grocery store. We just want to cut these open and dump them right into our pot with our meat and our broth. And I have yet to add any salt to this. What we're going to do is put this right back on the fire and just let it simmer for about 20 minutes once it comes up to temp. Our potatoes are basically done. Get one up here and we'll make sure. But they've been boiling for a little bit now. Yeah. So we're going to call our potatoes done. And I will show you how I mash potatoes. I've got a strainer here in the sink, so don't worry, we're not losing potatoes. And I just put them right back in the same pot. We get us a tater smasher. And I've got butter in this little dish over here. So we're going to add us some butter. As soon as we find something to scoop butter with. And I am generous with the butter. I do like butter. That's all ready to wash here in a minute. And I'll go ahead and give them a little smash with just the butter. And I've got way more pot than I had potatoes, but I didn't want to get carried away with potatoes. I can always mash more potatoes as necessary. But what really makes potatoes fluff up and be really good is plain old milk. That looks probably about enough. We'll give it a little shot of salt and pepper here. And again, I turned on that wrong burner. So our potatoes are mashed. And we're just going to let them sit with a lid on them till our noodles are done. Matter of fact, I'll just put them right back over here on this burner. But we need to get our noodles done. It'll take about 20 minutes or so once they come up to heat. And honestly, I'm probably going to have to do just a little bit of thickening agent to get them where I want them. All that is some flour and hot water mixed together and then stirred into our noodles. So I'm going to finish that. When I come back in a little bit, I will have plated, and we'll just go right to showing you our dishes as plated. So we'll be back in a little bit. Well, there we have it, folks. Pheasant noodles on a bed of mashed potatoes, Amish broccoli cauliflower salad, and our banana bread with custard sauce. That is a lot of white on white plates, I realize, but I had pheasant in the freezer and I wanted to try that custard sauce, so there's what we have. So I'm going to sign off. I appreciate you all tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, you can make chicken noodles the same way. If you're using pheasant, be careful with those tendons and watch for buckshot. My pheasants are going to have buckshot in them. Hope you enjoy. Leave comments, like, subscribe, all that stuff that YouTubers are supposed to say. I'll catch you next time. Thanks.